do a what we call a graphic organizer that is going to be folded. So they're sometimes called the foldable. It's going to be folded into 3 pieces. The title of this is rates and unit rates. So what I want you guys to know is that we are still talking about ratios. So a rate is one that compares 2 different quantities, like cats to dogs, pencils to crayons, has to be labeled and compare 2 things. A unit rate is the more important or a more specific rate, and that's because the second number will always be a unit of 1. So $10 per hour, 60 miles per hour, 4 inches per day. So the key words to look out for today are the word to, each. So they are 50 cents each. Per, I just gave a couple examples, 10 miles per hour, or if you see the unit of 1, okay? Now, inside your graphic organizer, we are going to start with these lovely examples, okay? So for this one, we're starting with a ratio, and you're going to turn it into a rate. So if you remember a little bit ago, this ratio, as it's written, is called 80 miles in 2 hours. You write the ratio like this, but this is also a rate because it compares 2 things, miles compared to hours. Now, if we want to find the unit rate, the very special one, I would divide. 80 divided by 2, that's what the fraction bar means. So then I would find out that if I want to go in 1 hour, it would be 40 miles per hour. 80 divided by 2 is how we solve that. In example number 2, we have a ratio of 64 video games, or $64 for 4 video games, and I would write it as a rate with their labels, dollars to video games. Divide that out, and you would get a unit rate for $16 for 1 video game, $16 per video game, $16 for each video game. So that's how those labels come to play, okay? The last one is 28 points in 4 games. So there is our rate. And then we divide it out to figure out that if you divide it, you get 7 points per game. $10 for 4 cans of soup. This is money, so it can be a decimal. So here is our rate, $10 for 4 cans. Here is our unit rate, $2.50 per can. Now remember, this is what we're going to talk about all the time. The unit rate is always a 1, $2.50 per can, 7 points per game, and so on. Now the 2 middle examples are basically word problems with a motto. So this is what 18 cookies shared among 3 people are. When you divide or share them, you would get 6 cookies per person. Then we have this one down here that have 25 goldfish for 5 friends. If you divide that out, you get 5 goldfish per friend, or you can model it by putting 5 friends and 5 goldfish in each until you are finished. So this is your unit rate, the most important one that we're looking for, okay? Now these are more representative of what you're going to see in 7th grade. So if you can make 12 rainbow loom bracelets in 3 hours, how many can you make in 15 hours? So it says find the unit rate and use that to solve the problem. So here's my rate. I divide it and get 4 bracelets per hour. If I keep doing this for 15 hours, I multiply the 4 bracelets per hour times 15 hours, and I would get 60 bracelets per 15 hours. So if I work for 15 hours straight at this rate, I'm going to make 60 bracelets. If Jennifer is babysitting and gets $39 for 6 hours, when you divide that, it works out to be $6.50 per hour. If she continues working and she does it for 10 hours, you would take $6.50 times 10, or she would get paid $65 for working 10 hours. So this is a rate. That's a unit rate. Last but not least is we have Luke. He scored 21 goals in 7 games. That works out to 3 goals per game. And if he does this continually for 23 straight games, here's 3 goals per game times 23 games. He would have scored 69 goals in those 23 games. Now, last but not least is on the back of our paper. Our first job is to circle all the unit rates. That means everything with a 1. So my unit rates here, nope, 14 feet per second for 7 seconds doesn't work. If I reduced it, I could get it. This is a unit rate. It says 24 miles per gallon, per ounce, per hour, not 35 minutes. Yes for each bar, no for 3 gallons, no for 4 apples, yes because they use one serving. So if they use number 1, the word per, or the word each, these are all unit rates. Okay? Now we're going to do some comparing at the grocery store. One grocery store does $2.20 for 4 apples. Well, that's 55 cents an apple when you do the division. This one is $4.40 for 10 apples. Well, that's 44 cents for an apple. That means the store, which happens to be the fresh grocery store, is going to be the better price. Now, this one's a little bit tricky because in the very last sentence, it tells you price per game. So I need $45 for 4 games compared to $56 for 5 games. So $44 for 4 games is $11.25 a game. $56 for 5 games is $11.20 per game. And again, the second one, which is Video World, is going to be the better buy or the cheaper price. Okay? Now you're going to use this handout to go on and do our next activity, which is your rates and ratios. Now you're going to put them in simplest form. You're going to find unit rates. You're going to find better buys. So every example that I just did here in this handout, you are going to do in your homework for today.